Think about how many times your phone interrupts you in a single day. A text arrives, then an email, then a news alert, then somebody comments on something you posted, then an app reminds you about something you forgot, then another app tells you something you didn't actually need to know in the first place. Ping, buzz, flash, scroll, check, respond. So for many people, this is annoying. But for an autistic adult who's already trying to manage sensory input, transitions, work demands, executive functioning, anxiety, and complexities of a relationship, it can become something much bigger. It can become sensory fragmentation. And here's the important relationship piece. Sometimes what looks like emotional withdrawal from a partner may actually be a nervous system that has run out of processing capacity. So today we're going to talk about something surprisingly simple that can help: digital minimalism. Not throwing your phone away, not moving into a cabin in the woods, not pretending technology is evil. We're talking about deliberately reducing unnecessary digital stimulation so the autistic nervous system has more capacity available for the people who matter. Wouldn't that be nice? Now, did you know that your brain has a limited processing budget? Imagine waking up every morning with a certain amount of mental bandwidth. Throughout the day, everything takes a little bit of it. Conversation takes bandwidth. Driving takes bandwidth. Making decisions takes bandwidth. Being around noise takes bandwidth. So does work and unexpected changes. Even trying to figure out what somebody else is feeling takes bandwidth. And for many autistic adults, sensory filtering itself requires considerable effort. The brain is constantly deciding, what deserves my attention? What can I ignore? What does this sound mean? Do I need to respond to this? Is something changing? Now put a smartphone into the environment. Suddenly there are dozens or hundreds of additional bids for attention. Every notification creates a tiny transition. Your brain was here, now it has to go there, and then come back here. Then another notification pulls it somewhere else. That repeated switching can become exhausting, and you wouldn't even know it. And this is where couples can misunderstand each other. The NT spouse says to the ASD spouse, "You're always on your phone." And that's probably true. Imagine an autistic partner comes home after a demanding day. Their spouse wants to talk, but the autistic partner sits down and starts scrolling through the damn phone. Then the neurotypical partner sees this and thinks, he didn't want to talk to me. Or, his phone's more important than I am. Or even, he's never emotionally available. Never. And sometimes there certainly can be unhealthy phone habits in a relationship. But there's another possibility worth considering. Scrolling may have become an automatic attempt at regulation. The autistic partner may not consciously think, well, I'm overwhelmed and need to reduce cognitive demand. They simply know that conversation feels difficult. Unfortunately, the phone that appears to provide relief can also keep the nervous system fragmented. Another message, another video, another headline, another notification, another little piece of information to process. So the ASD brain is trying to recover from overstimulation, is exposed to more stimulation. That's the paradox. The phone becomes both the escape from overwhelm and one of the things maintaining the overwhelm. Now let's talk about why baseline matters. One of the most useful ideas for neurodiverse couples is what I call the baseline principle. Don't only pay attention to what happens during conflict, pay attention to what the nervous system was carrying before the conflict started. If someone has spent 10 hours dealing with noise, demands, interruptions, emails, notifications, decisions, traffic, social expectations, and constant task switching, their capacity for one more emotional, complex conversation is extremely low. Then the NT partner says, hey, can we talk about something? And suddenly, the autistic partner becomes defensive or shuts down or gives very short answers or says, not now. The neurotypical may interpret that moment as rejection. But sometimes the real problem begins hours earlier. The nervous system arrived at the conversation already overloaded. That's why environmental regulation matters so much. So instead of asking only, how do we communicate better after conflict? We also need to ask, what can we change before the conflict so both nervous systems have more capacity when we need each other? Digital minimalism is one answer. So now let's look at the 3D strategy. Here's a simple experiment I encourage couples to try. Remember 3 Ds: disable, distance, design. First, disable unnecessary notifications. Most apps don't deserve immediate access to your nervous system. So turn off promotional notifications, news alerts, social media alerts, shopping notifications, game notifications, anything that doesn't genuinely require immediate attention, shut it off. Keep the important ones, Remove the noise. Every notification you eliminate is one less forced transition your brain has to make. The second D is create distance. There should be periods of the day when the phone is physically away from you, not sitting face down beside you, actually way the hell over there somewhere. Maybe there's a charging station in the other room. Maybe phones stay out of the bedroom. Maybe dinner is phone free. Maybe the first 20 or 30 minutes after arriving home become a low stimulation transition period. The last one can be particularly powerful for autistic partners. Instead of walking through the door and immediately switching from work mode into relationship mode, create a transition. Dim the stimulation, change clothes, sit quietly, take a shower, walk outside, listen to something calming. Let the nervous system come down before asking it to become socially and emotionally available again. And the third D is design. Design intentional connection. Don't merely remove the phone and expect intimacy to magically appear. Create something to replace the stimulation. 10 minutes together on the porch. How about a cup of coffee? Maybe a quiet walk. What do you think about sitting together without television? Wouldn't that be something? A short relationship check-in would also work. The goal isn't simply less screen time. The goal is more available attention. Now, don't turn this into another relationship rule. There's one warning I want to give couples. Please don't weaponize this idea. Don't finish the video, walk into the other room and say, hey, see, I told you your phone was the problem. That defeats the entire purpose. Digital minimalism works best when it becomes a shared environmental experiment, not another accusation. So try saying, I wonder if we're both more overstimulated than we realize. What if we experimented with fewer notifications and 20 minutes of quiet time before we try to connect in the evening? Now you're solving the problem together. The enemy isn't the autistic partner. The enemy is not the neurotypical partner. And the enemy is not necessarily the smartphone. The problem is too much stimulation competing for too little cognitive bandwidth. Now let's talk about protecting the bandwidth that love requires. Emotional intimacy requires resources. Listening requires resources. Perspective taking requires resources. So does patience, affection, and repairing conflict. And when someone's cognitive and sensory resources have been drained all day, telling them to communicate better, or let's talk about how we feel, is not going to solve the underlying problem. Sometimes communication improves when the environment improves. So here's your challenge for this week. Pick 1 hour every evening and make it a low digital stimulation hour. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Put the phone somewhere else. Lower the environmental stimulation. And don't immediately fill that hour with a heavy relationship conversation, for Christ's sake. Give the nervous system some room first. Then notice what happens. Do you feel calmer? Does conversation become easier? Is there less irritability? Does eye contact or affection happen more naturally? Do you feel more present with each other? You may discover something very important, that the relationship didn't necessarily need another communication technique. It needed more cognitive space in which communication could happen. Because sometimes the first step toward emotional connection isn't saying more. It's not feeling more feelings. It's removing some of the noise. And when the noise goes down, guess what? The nervous system has a chance to settle. And when the nervous system settles, attention becomes available. Wow. And when attention becomes available, connection has somewhere to land. That's digital minimalism in a neurodiverse relationship. Less noise, more bandwidth, more room for each other. Please like and subscribe. See you next time. Would you like to schedule a paid private coaching session? This will be in the form of a face-to-face Zoom call. Underneath any of my videos, you'll see this Calendly link. If you click on that link, it'll open up my calendar. You can pick the available days and times that works for your schedule, and I will be available on that exact day and time, and we will talk.